I
Okay.
would like you to consider a British Leyland dealership from 1974.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart. These are my friends who are car enthusiasts and all around good guys. We have Glenn Packman from Fairfield County, Connecticut, and Jeff Buckholtz, award-winning journalist from Chicago, Illinois. Gentlemen, you know what we're going to play tonight? We are going to play another round of car dealership time machine.
Ooh.
The rules, and there are not many rules, is that you are assigned a year and a dealership and a brand of cars, and you have to decide which vehicles you want to bring back to the present and why. So, with that understanding of the complicated and Byzantine rule system, so this one is going to be a little different, where we're not coming up with our own, and we're going to give other people a time, a year, and a brand. So, um, I can start and give you. I have several. I have a list of six,
My
and
word.
Wow. I have a list of
I
one.
wanted I wanted to be prepared.
Okay.
Um, so d Jeff, why don't you kick off your first one? There.
Uh, this one's for you, Doug.
Okay.
And this was inspired by your dad. I
Okay.
would like you to consider a British Leyland dealership from 1974.
Wow.
All right. Okay, good. I like that. I like
A
that a lot.
few moments later.
I can probably do it off the top of my head.
I was thinking you could.
All right. So uh, I'm familiar with this uh, dealership, and Glenn has a connection to this too. It was in the south end of Hartford. It was called Palladium Pool, and I believe one of those names was Glenn's former neighbor. You've
Yeah,
talked about it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The
absolutely.
person who invented Pilates. That's right.
um, so that would include uh, Jaguars, Austins, MGs. Would Rovers be in that? Okay.
And Triumph.
Okay.
And
All right.
Triumph.
And I'm pretty sure they sold most of those. I know they sold my father the Austin Marina, which Top Gear later dropped pianos on. And if I haven't mentioned this car before, it was a beautiful shade of blue green. It was really lovely.
Mm.
It was awful. You couldn't drive it at night with the in the rain with the heater and the windshield wipers and turning and making a turn because the turn signals would blow the electrical system because it was made by Lucas, the people who invented darkness.
Mhm.
Um, I would, hmm, what would I get there? Uh, would the SD1, was that before?
Little early for the
Okay.
SD1.
Okay. Um, honestly, I liked when the Austin Marina was working, I really liked it. It was a good size. It was small, rear wheel drive car. Manual transmission. It was kind of fun. I'd probably get one of those. The Jaguars were too fussy for me,
Mhm.
um, and the MGs and the Triumphs were just so limited in what you could do. Like basically two bags of groceries and you filled the trunk up. The convertible roofs would leak a lot.
Sure.
So that's where I would be on that.
Okay. I it was always pretty partial to the TR6 around that
Mhm.
time. I thought that was a really handsome
Mhm.
car. That might have been a Michelotti design as I think about it, because I know he was brought in to consult on a lot of BL stuff. Um, I think that, and it's 74 is a little early for the XJS,
Mhm.
and the Series 3 hadn't come out yet. But probably, I did see once, and I know they're fiddly, but I did at a show not long ago see an XJ12C,
Hmm.
the coupe, the pillarless hardtop coupe version of the XJ with a 12-cylinder engine, and that seemed pretty sublime. That's a
Mhm.
pretty that's a pretty classy car. That's the
Mhm.
sort of car you need to go out and buy a tweed jacket if you're going to own. One with yes, and a nice substantial pipe,
Mhm.
and probably also a set of overalls since you'll be under the car a lot.
A lot.
Yes. A lot. A lot. Yeah.
All right. Did you have one, Jeff? Did you have one for Glenn?
I'm going to pick for Glenn a Buick dealership in 1984.
Few moments later.
Buick 1984.
Yes,
I was always partial to the Skyhawk in
Mhm.
that it was the best looking of the variants of
of the
that
J.
of the
Mhm.
J,
Yeah, it
right?
was a good one.
And especially if you got it sort of with the sported up trim,
Hmm.
silver with some black and maybe like an orange pinstripe or
The
something.
T-type was
The
very
T-type.
handsome.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was very sharp, and I think my mind was focused towards that because in 1984 I might have almost been able to afford one.
Mhm.
Um, but I think if I am going to go back to 1984 and pick the Buick that I think was going to be the standout of that year, it's got to be the Grand National.
Oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
you you
100%.
you have chosen correctly.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
the
you.
one.
Yeah.
That was the one.
So Glenn
Yep.
from 1984, the Skyhawk, but the Grand National, it was just it was important, you know.
It
Mhm.
was important. It
Yeah.
ended up being by the end of the run in '87, it was in fact the fastest car General Motors sold. It was
Yeah,
faster than the Corvette that
right,
year.
right.
But they didn't
Mhm.
talk about it
No.
because Chevy was so butthurt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I and
uh,
I,
I
I
Go ahead.
just always felt that the car was excessively enigmatic because it's really sedan-y looking, and yet it was faster than lightning, It was
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
and there was something inherently beautiful about it in
Oh, it's a
1984
gorgeous
sense
car.
too. Yeah.
I think it still
So
is.
there's
The
It,
so
the
that's my
motto, the Buick performance motto was always fast with class, which is the Grand National and the Regal T-Type, because you could get the same
right.
underpinnings in a Regal with a Landau top and loose pillow crushed velour seats if you wanted it. I mean, you could have gotten it pretty much any way you wanted.
Glenn, why
Yes.
don't you go ahead?
Okay, I'll pitch this at both of you. Because it's only been like one podcast since I mentioned the favorite car that I've owned, which was a 1993 Mazda Protege. Go to the dealership at Mazda in 1993, and you are going to find a plethora, good use of the word, of options, almost all of them worthwhile. So I would love to hear I would take home just about any car from the 1993 Mazda lineup. You're going to be impressed, believe me. A few moments later,
The RX-7.
the RX-7. Okay,
Yeah,
that was the third generation by that point.
yeah, it's sublime. It's of that era where it's kind of blobby, but like windblown blobby,
Hmm.
in a really nice way. Um, I, my understanding is that the engines are not very durable and don't get really good gas mileage, but
Mm-mm.
I like that car. And you really aren't going to go wrong with the Protege. Um,
Mm-mm.
I
Hmm.
have fond memories of Glenn's Protege. But those would probably be the two that I would pull back from that time era.
I have pulled two separate, different vehicles. Um, your runner-up, Miata, is always the answer.
Yes. Yeah.
We are 3 years into the first generation, and I know that I have told on this podcast the story of how I spent a meaningful afternoon with Car and Driver magazine's long-term Gen 1 NA Miata back in 1989, and it was a foundational moment, and I still have pretty decent memories of big parts of that drive. And that thing was, I mean, it was perfect in every way. Not the car that I would pick though, because that, as wonderful as Miatas are, it's difficult for a 6'2" guy to live with one on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So this is a deep cut. We're going to go with the Navajo.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. All
Nice.
This
right.
is the badge engineered two-door version of the Gen 1 Ford Explorer.
Uh-huh.
Um, Virtually the same, except I think the interior is nicer on the Navajo than it
Yeah.
was on your XLT trim and XL trim Explorers. And the logo in the middle of the steering wheel, of course, was Mazda and not a certain oval. In many ways, I actually think it's the best looking variant of the Gen 1 Explorer. And it was only made as a two-door, and it was only sold for 4 years, I think, between
Hmm.
91 and 94. And then, then Mazda had the Tribute that they could then look to,
Hmm.
which itself was the badge engineered version of the Escape.
We're going to take a break, and then I will give my suggestions.
Good.
Welcome back. We are playing Car Dealership Time Machine. Uh, we need a theme. We need a theme. We'll work on that. We'll work on that for the next time. All right, gentlemen. Jeff, um, 1971 Dodge dealer.
Ooh, hey, now we're talking.
Few moments later.
Jeff has
So
returned from the soundproof booth.
my category is boxing. Um, this podcast is all about obscure references. So 71 wasn't a bad year. Um, I mean, there are some really good ones to pick. I am a sucker for the big Chrysler fuselage models. They're
Mhm.
so handsome and they're
Mhm.
so of their time, right?
Mhm.
The Monaco coupe was especially handsome. I mean, just
Mhm.
really, just tons of presence, really well engineered, like most Chryslers were in that period. That's a really dynamite car. Um, the but the runner-up here is a surprise. The runner-up here is the Colt.
Okay.
This would be the first year of the Mitsubishi, what became a long and fruitful association with Mitsubishi for the Chrysler Corporation. And of course, Dodge and Plymouth each had its own answer for the captive import question about what do we do about Toyota and Volkswagen, and to a lesser extent, Honda in 1971. Plymouth famously brought because they owned, the Chrysler owned the Roots Group in the UK, brought over Hillman, the
Mhm.
Hillman Imp, I think.
I was
Uh,
going to say the Hellman
it
Avenger,
was
but
the Hillman Avenger, you're right. And that became the Plymouth Cricket. Dodge did it right. They went to Mitsubishi and got the Colt, which is very handsome, especially in your sort of 70s earth tone with a vinyl top. It's a really snappy little car. Very Datsun 510-esque.
Mhm.
But the winner here has got to be the Charger. The 71 also fuselage design, the first year of the fuselage design Charger, probably an RT, if I'm honest. Um, and this would have been a little bit before I think this was before the Charger became like the SE with like the 3 opera windows, which was a
Right.
big advance in opera window technology of the time. Right up there with Ford putting 2 opera windows on the Gran Torino Elite in '74. But
There were just strides and strides and strides in that.
honestly, the personal luxury coupe was sort of the pinnacle of innovation of that time. But I think it would have to be a Charger, it would have to be an RT. And I don't think I would get a Hemi because like most people who were shopping Dodges at the time, the Hemi would have been entirely too expensive, and too fiddly. And I think I would have just gotten the 440 and been done with it. And then 20 years later, kicked myself when I realized what a bad decision I'd made. But I think that's how I would. I think that's where I would go with that. Which is, and the '71 Charger is great, but I think we can all agree that the immediately preceding Charger, the '68, '69, and '70, might be the best looking car of the '60s. And it's a shame that it was so tarnished by that television program, and that they cracked up so many of them.
Right.
Because they're absolutely beautiful.
Glenn, are you ready? Yes.
Okay, I want to throw in just one thing from that year.
Sure.
I have a kind of forgotten vehicle, but I always liked the Dodge Demon from that year.
Okay. Yeah.
That would have been the Dodge version of the Duster.
Correct. Right.
Right.
And it was a fastback version of the
Yes.
of the Dart, but always a sharp car.
And they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
The Dusters and the Demons
Yep.
were everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. 1989 Chevrolet.
Ooh.
Few moments later.
All right. 1989. There were a couple interesting cars from that year. There was the Beretta, which was the 2-door version of the Corsica, right? Which was kind of an overlooked car and kind of sharp.
Really sharp.
I saw one not that long ago on the road, and I have to say that car is aged extremely well. It is still a handsome car.
Let me pull that up. I just want to take a good look at that. Yeah.
It's a shame it only made it one generation with like an interior refresh.
Right.
But I mean, it was a really good car.
It really was. I'm looking at the, like a nice red version here, and it was just for me, it solved some of the design cues from the Corsica that I didn't love. So that would be my second choice. '89 was a really good year for the Corvette. So
yes, it was.
It really was. And I mean, honestly, that's where my mind went to. And I was like, no, come on. That's just an easy answer. Well, it's an easy answer because it was a really good year for the Corvette. So if I had the money, yeah, that's where I'd have to go.
Yeah,
and then
that's
I'd
a
park
good
it in
one.
a garage and drive it once a year so that it just hangs around forever. Because talk about a classic shape, that'll never go out of style. So there's my 1 and 2. I'm gonna throw in an honorable mention: the Z24 version of the Cavalier.
I was hoping you were going to do that.
Yeah, because I've always had a soft spot for the Cavalier. Over the years, I've always thought that it was a decent, capable car for its class. The Z24, they tried to infuse that sporting energy into it, and it worked for me back then. So
You could get a digital dash on those. I think the alloys on that car are like the height of '80s design. Like they're just ridiculous.
There you go.
But yeah, that's a great car. And the thing about all of the J cars, in particular Cavaliers, and they built the Cavalier forever, is those things run for decades.
Yeah, right.
We've made the reference before on this podcast that General Motors cars run poorly longer than most cars will run at all. And the Cavalier is example A of that.
Yeah.
Like, they'll just go and go and go and go. If you find one, and I saw one the other day that was Oh, it was the S-Box Showdown in the on the Autopian. Had the Z24 convertible, I think from 88 or 89. It was like, would you pick this or would you pick this other thing? And I think the convertible J car was like $800. And I'm like, for $800, why not?
Sure.
That's effort money. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
sure. You drive it for a summer, it's like the fastest lawn chair you can buy. And having driven a J car convertible and watched the windshield vibrate at a different axis from the rest of the car, it's got the structural stability of a lawn chair as well. But still, what a riot.
Right, right.
I think the Beretta I think is an excellent choice. I would have
Yeah.
gone with the S10 Blazer.
Yeah.
With
God, those
the
were
big
so...
wheels.
Yep, those were so good.
And
Yeah.
we had two of them at Channel 40 at the time.
Mhm.
And I literally would ask if I could bring it home and I'd go and clean the whole thing up because I love driving it so
Aw.
much. But yeah,
Those are great. Those are great cars.
yeah.
Yeah. I
And you never see them now. You never
Mm-mm.
ever see them.
I saw one, the last time I saw one was probably a year and a half ago. I was up north. I was in Michigan. I was driving home after visiting my mom, and I'd stopped in the little town of Grayling, Michigan for gas. And there was an S10 Blazer parked. The guy was inside the convenience store, whatever. And my first thought was, wow, that looks really good. And then I looked a little bit closer and I realized, oh, there's a lot of rust on this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was still putting in the work,
Mhm.
and it still looked pretty decent. Yeah, that
Yep.
was a good car and a good size.
Yep.
uh,
All right. Glenn, go ahead.
sorry. Just one little sidebar about the Cavalier. My stepsons, I have three stepsons, and years ago when they were coming of age, we made the deal with them that dad and other dad would buy their first car for them. So, because we wanted to put them in something relatively safe,
Mm.
not terribly expensive, not overpowered, something really functional. Uh, my stepson Tommy, his first car, I believe, was a 2001 Chevy Cavalier. It
Mm.
was the
Mhm.
four-door. That generation, by the way, the two-door, which I think was based on the Opel Calibri, something like that. No,
They
No,
were not
no,
the
no,
same
no,
platform.
no.
no.
It
No, that
had,
was still the original J platform.
oh,
Mhm.
was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The two-door had a very Opel look to it,
Yes.
you know.
Yep.
And I always admired that. This was a little four-door silver. It was pretty standard fare. He got clobbered at an intersection.
Mm.
I mean, just if you took a look at what was left of the Cavalier, you would think that it was just death and carnage on the car was just mangled to beyond bits. The car was beyond totaled. It
Mm.
was scary to look at. And Tommy walked away from that accident with a couple scratches.
Wow.
Mm.
That's
And
crazy.
I will always kind of in my heart have a special place for that car and for Chevy for protecting my son in this really bad accident.
Mhm.
So, um, and P.S. He's one of my favorites. So out of three to choose from, I love them all. I love them all. They're good kids. But yeah, and I should try and dig up the photo of what was left of his Cavalier. And to this day, he speaks fondly of that car because it
Mm.
was his first. And now he's in his 30s and he has two kids of his own. And I'm like,
It's also the fire chief of Derby, Connecticut.
yes, he is.
Oh, I'll be
He is.
darned. Nice.
He's
Yeah.
a he is a
Yeah.
good kid. He is a
He's
really good
With
kid.
done
So
well.
Tom, if you're listening, your stepdad loves you. You know this. I'm going to
um
stop being a cornball now. Okay.
there was a big fire down there, and as the reporter is on her way, I'm like, this is the fire chief. He may or may not know who I am, but and and he did. And I was like, because I've met him like two or three times,
Hmm.
over the decades. So my Cavalier story, and I'll probably cut this out. But we were when my brother Dave and I were shopping for what eventually ended up being my Dodge Shadow. We're at the Chevy dealership, and the guy brings us over to the Cavalier, and Dave, yes, the Chevy Cavalier, 15 years of development, can't all be bad.
That very much seems on brand for your brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was he the one that at an auto show went over to Mazda and said, "Hey, where's the Amati?"
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he did. He did that.
Yeah, that's my brother. All right. So I wanted to call out, Jeff, your Autopian t-shirt.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Representing.
one of my perks for being a crushed velour member, which is the middle tier of membership perks.
Okay.
Yeah, every year they send a new T-shirt. They send pins. I have a license plate frame that's on the front of Lewis and Clark, my Explorer, and the that membership, any membership access gets you look at some features that are not available to non-subscribers, plus the ability to comment on stuff. My commenting has gone way down since I took this job, but I still spend a fair amount of time on that website, and there are good people running it, and they have one of the things that I appreciate about that website, and this is particularly notable given the rapid consolidation and change in the enthusiast publication industry. Hearst has pretty much bought up all of the magazines. I think they just bought Motor Trend, actually. And there seems to be a push now on a lot of these sites, and I think Jalopnik is already headed pretty much down this path, about trying to leverage AI, leverage a lot of sort of machine learning when writing stuff. And a lot of it ends up being kind of listicle stuff. I get the beep this time. But the Autopian has made it really clear that they don't want to do that, that they have no intention of doing that, that they want to hire good people to write good stories that will keep people on the site. And I appreciate that philosophy and them being so upfront about it. So shout out to those guys. There's some real ones.
Cool.
Plus, they're the only magazine staff I've ever actually partied with, and that was pretty hilarious.
All right. We're going to land the plane here. Dock the boat. Remember, you can watch episodes of Car-Pinionated on YouTube. And with that, we will see you all next time.